The bunny, oh, I hate the bunny. April 18th, 2025. There was a racially charged dust-up online recently because of a giant statue of a pagan Hindu god, now erected near Houston, Texas. And I remember at one point writing an article about this kind of thing on a former blog, about a similar statue, but can't seem to find it for the life of me. So you get this one instead, just in time for Easter. Christians feel uneasy when they see this kind of thing because we all implicitly know what a Christian often calls pagan, or would call pagan if they had the chutzpah, is often synonymous with the idea of being foreign. We're a secluded bunch here in the west of Christianity, so when we think of a backwards practice of worshipping a statue, our only models of putting the mechanics of that into place is one from a VeggieTales clip with a giant chocolate bunny. But now, on the heels of a poor immigration policies, a real statue is here and is being worshipped by people who isn't you. So much for Christian nationalism, eh? Oh, you thought this was the first giant idol in America? I can understand, given the times, that it would take a golden statue to shake you out of your spiritual conscience a bit. But large construction projects have been built in the name of several false gods, all over the place even, but it does take a kind of discernment you can't enter into a search bar to see them. They're not shaped like any man or beast or combination of man and beast. No. These are attributes of obvious gods, the gods you are okay with living in temples far away, where you send missionaries. The more troubling ones are found in temples made of brown-gray concrete and glass. Data centers that make up Google were the first idols and temples that got erected in the West in a long while, because the demons finally figured out how to pull that particular wool over the eyes of the public. What did you think a thing that only answers petitions would be in practice, if not a god that people would default to? You think the money and government subsidies and sheer draw on the power grid that these data centers take from us isn't a sacrifice because it's not a cow killed in Texas? I mean, there are a lot of cows killed in Texas, even burnt ones if we're attempting at achieving greatness, at least culinary greatness. But good barbecue and bad Hindu idols would have different standards, I suppose. Back to the boring gray concrete gods of data. Sometime long before enough worshippers of statues got to North America, people started worshipping things other things than idols, that didn't look like idols, and in doing so, laid the groundwork for construction projects like this statue to eventually happen. One where the idol looks like an idol. That kind of work doesn't get undone by governments making sure all the statues are irreligious, though judges are involved a bit. Somewhere in Texas, or maybe nearby Florida, is a Christian who has an excavator waiting to be called on by the angel of the Lord, just like Gideon was. Along with him is a hacker who knows that porn is a cancer on society, like a bronze cow that demanded children for its burnt offerings. He knows, the same way the excavator driver in Christ knows, how to tear down these idols, and if and when either of these two get a nudge from the angel of the Lord, the news will look a little different the following night. What they do in the name of their God will not be legal. It will not be nice, and it will be done with the intent of making a false god contend with real Christians, or at the very least their followers, who will result to any sort of desperation while trying to prove their God is real. The Baal worshippers danced and sang and slashed themselves silly to get their God to show up, and he didn't. What do you think a porn worshiper will do when an enterprising young Zoomer with a knack for code and a new AI supercharger insists that it's their turn to use holyfire.exe? Because I can tell you right now, digital porn files, while pervasive, are a lot more fragile than solid gold statues. The big thing to notice is that we somehow maintained a level of idolatrousness while thinking we put those idols away, and in doing so, missed that the idols no longer had morphic shapes. So completely, in fact, that anthropomorphic ones could show up at any given Sunday. But it's not Sunday. It's Good Friday, and we worship a real God of real sacrifices, and his kingdom shall have no end. We need to remember that when statues are erected, buildings are smudged, offices DEI'd and climates not changed, and OnlyFans exists as a valid career choice for young women after high school. If and when these practices are cast down like so many stacked stones in sacrilege, we need to be ready to call it like it lies, namely, so dead it was never even alive. Which means calling the sage smoke stinky, the carbon tax a scam, the metrics of DEI, the jealousy and spite of white heterosexuality it is, alongside the whoredom of any form of online pornography. You can get fleeces off Amazon if you're really looking for a sign to get to work, and I promise you they will be wet when the dew hits it at least once. And Joash said to all that stood against him, "Will you plead for Baal? Will you save him? He that will plead for him, let him be put to death while it is yet still morning. If he is a god, let him plead for himself, because one has cast down his altar." Judges 6:31, King James Version.